to scrap. Joining me now is Texas Congressman Pat Fallon. Thank you so much for being here. You are on the House Oversight, DOJ Subcommittee. You are also on the Armed Services and recently named on the Intelligence Committees. So we've got a lot to get to. I want to get your take on the DOJ cuts and where specifically you see the most waste and fraud.
Well, Maria, thank you for having me. And, over the last 20 years, and this is according to the federal government themselves, there's been about $2.7 trillion with a T in waste, $764 billion just under Joe Biden. $250 billion were paid to folks that were not eligible for COVID benefits. And we only clawed back $5 billion of it. So there's a massive amount of savings all over the federal government. But specifically to your question, Medicaid, about 20% of that is fraud, waste, and abuse. And we spend hundreds of billions of dollars, actually, into the trillions of dollars. So there's massive savings, and the American taxpayer is finally going to get a bang for their buck, because for decades, people have been talking about this, but now finally we have a president that's doing something about it.
Congressman, let me ask you about defense spending. You're on the Armed Services Committee. First, President Trump said he wants to increase defense spending. You're all talking about $125 billion for the reconciliation package. And then the president said he's going to be talking to Russia and China about denuclearization, and he wants to cut defense spending in half. Which is it?
Well, I think what the president's saying is we're going to look at what are the needs for the United States and for our security, vis-a-vis security, and we're going to spend what we need to in that regard. But he can also reduce the budget in two ways. One, with efficiencies, because there are some weapons programs and there's certainly some inefficiencies at the Pentagon. But that's not going to jeopardize security. And our military, quite frankly, will go stronger. We'll grow stronger with those kind of, to really do self-auditing, quite honestly. But what he's also talking about is if China and if Russia will work with us and reduce their nuclear stockpiles and also maybe some of their weapon systems, we have some kind of unilateral agreement between, really amongst the three of us, then we can see some savings as well. I think that's what he's talking about.
So there are still plans then for a potential Iron Dome around America and the potential for spawning even more spending on modernization of the military. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it's one of those, you take one step, you invest in the new weapons programs that are leaner. And so you might see a spike in the short term, but then overall, you're not going to cut the budget in half, the military budget in half in a year. I think that's what he's saying is maybe a goal down the line. But also Russia, our competitors, Russia and China, would have to agree, or that's certainly not. I don't think that that's feasible.
So, I mean, look, we're talking about these cuts at the same time that you and your colleagues are coming up with a budget reconciliation bill, that singular one GOP budget bill now out of committee, headed to the full House for a vote. And this proposal would allow for at least $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, cut spending by at least $1.5 trillion over 10 years, add $300 billion in new border and defense spending, and it would raise the debt limit by $4 trillion. Are you expecting to vote for it? Can this pass the House and Senate?
Well, we're certainly going to find out, and it's going to be harder, I think, for any bill to pass the House. I shouldn't say harder, maybe more challenging than it is in the Senate, just because we have different dynamics and a lot of different personalities. And I say oftentimes, in the House, Republicans were like a family, sometimes a dysfunctional family, but you had a family. So we'll definitely see. But I know what's important to most of us is that we need to curtail the federal, we need to reduce the debt to GDP ratio. And the only way to do that is to grow the economy and to reduce spending. And that's what we're on a pathway toward. And this budget would be one step towards our goal. But certainly we're still far away from it.
The president's trying to do this deal to stop this war on Ukraine. And I know you just recently met as part of your intelligence committee with people from Ukraine, officials there. Does this deal include Ukraine giving up territory? Do they also acknowledge that they're not going to be able to have the land that they had going into this?
Yeah, we did meet with them, and we met in an unclassified setting, so of course I can visit with you on it a little bit. They understand. First of all, most Americans don't realize, Maria, that Ukraine has the fourth most natural resources of any nation state in the world. 4, and there's a little over north of 200 countries. So they have a lot of resources, and I love the president's viewpoint on that to say, look, Ukraine, we've done a lot for you. Why don't you do a little bit for us? Now, as to your point on them not keeping all the territory that Russia stole, they acknowledge that they're not going to win it back militarily. So the only other alternative is diplomatically, and how best can the United States position Ukraine to get as most of that territory back as possible. They're not going to get it all back. Crimea is likely gone, and parts of the east are going to become part of Mother Russia. But that's how we work towards peace. Because how does Ukraine win a war of attrition when they're fighting an enemy that has 4 times the population and twice the size of the military? So it's very difficult. And Putin has a lot of resources because of his natural gas and his oil. So we're going to have to move forward. And thank God for President Trump, because if Kamala Harris, God forbid, had won, it would be the same grind and more American treasure being thrown at a war that's stalemated and will for the next several years.
Vice President J.D. Vance met with the Ukraine President Zelensky at the Munich Security Conference. He notes that the U.S. has a range of options when it comes to negotiating with Russia, but Democrats are irate over this idea of any perceived concessions given to Putin. Watch this.
Trump and Hegseth literally appear to be negotiating on behalf of Putin. They're trying to sell us on the things the Kremlin wants.
He wants to abandon, apparently, Ukraine. The pressure should be put on Russia to not take territory.
Oh, we're going to give away all the concessions first, then we're going to negotiate, and then we're going to see what other concessions Putin wants, and then we're going to see what the Ukrainians want. Well, that's very a low chance of actually succeeding.
Congressman, what do you want to say to your Democrat colleagues?
Wow, spin and not truth. They're spinning and they're not telling the truth. And the fact of the matter is that if we want to end this war, it's going to be, you know what that's called? It's called compromise. And it's not going to make probably any one particular person happy. But what is their solution? Just to grind on and give $50 billion of a hard-earned American taxpayer money to Ukraine for the next 5-10 years? That's not a solution. And by the way, if that happens, Putin might get his ultimate goal, which is to dominate Ukraine.
Congressman, it's great to talk with you. Thanks so much. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Maria. God bless, and happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you so much. Happy Valentine's weekend, Congressman Pat Fallon.